Have you ever stopped to think that the people closest to you are using a secret language to control the way you think and feel? One that's carefully crafted from a toxic blend of guilt, shame, and praise. Behind this manipulative facade lies a deeply ingrained psychological pattern known as insecurity masking, a coping mechanism where people use emotional blackmail to hide their own vulnerabilities and insecurities. You know the feeling when someone says you're so lucky, I'd do anything for you, only to make you feel guilty and obligated to repay their favor. By the end of this video, you'll gain a profound understanding of the hidden language of insecurity and the subtle yet potent ways people use it to conceal their true desires and manipulate those around them. When we use guilt to control others, we're really just trying to fill the void left by our own unresolved shame and inadequacy. People use praise as a manipulation tool because deep down, they are desperate to be loved for who they truly are, but are afraid to be vulnerable and honest about their own flaws. The tactics of guilt, shame, and praise are nothing more than an elaborate dance to avoid confronting our own insecurities and the fear of being rejected or unloved. Behind every criticism or guilt trip is a desperate cry for validation and a deep-seated need to be seen and heard, often rooted in a childhood experience of neglect or abandonment. We're far more likely to fall under the spell of manipulators when we're struggling to develop a healthy sense of self-worth and self-acceptance, which inevitably leads to people-pleasing and a lack of boundaries. At the end of the day, the manipulative behaviors we exhibit towards others are often a thinly veiled attempt to hide our own dark secrets and unmet emotional needs, a desperate bid to conceal our true vulnerability and avoid the risk of being hurt or rejected. When we try to conceal our true desires, we often resort to emotional blackmail as a desperate attempt to seek validation and control over others. By using guilt, shame, or praise to manipulate someone into doing what we want, we're really just trying to hide our own vulnerability and insecurity. The truth is, emotional blackmail is a coping mechanism used by people who've been hurt or abandoned in the past, and it's a way for them to regain a sense of power and control over the people and world around them. When we use emotional blackmail, we're not only affecting the person on the receiving end, but also hiding our own deep-seated fears and insecurities from ourselves. It's a form of self-deception that prevents us from truly confronting our own emotional pain and growth. By manipulating others through praise, guilt, or shame, we're attempting to fill a void within ourselves, rather than addressing the underlying issues that are causing us to feel unfulfilled or insecure. In many cases, people who use emotional blackmail are actually attracted to the power and control it gives them, but they are also often terrified of losing it, which is why they'll go to such great lengths to maintain it, even if it means sacrificing their relationships and their own emotional well-being. When we use shame to hide our own vulnerabilities, it's really an attempt to deflect attention from our own insecurities, a desperate attempt to shift the spotlight onto someone else's flaws. The way we shame others often reveals the very same insecurities we're trying to hide, a kind of psychological projection that distorts our perception of reality. People often use shame as a means of exerting control, to force others into submission, to mask the fear of being seen as vulnerable themselves. We tend to find it easier to spot the flaws in others than to confront our own, and it's this avoidance of self-awareness that leads to a culture of shame, where the most vulnerable among us are often the ones who suffer the most. Shame is often a form of reverse validation, a twisted attempt to elicit sympathy or approval from others, rather than taking pride in our own strengths and accomplishments. Ultimately, shame is a tool used to hide our true desires and fears, a way to conceal our own vulnerabilities from the world, but also from ourselves, allowing us to deceive ourselves into believing we're invincible. When people turn to guilt and shame, it's often not about the actual issue, but about exerting control and maintaining a power dynamic in the relationship. We use praise to validate our own self-worth, to compensate for what's missing in ourselves, and to reinforce the notion that we deserve special treatment. Behind every attempt to manipulate with guilt is a deep-seated fear of being rejected, abandoned, or unloved. The language of insecurity is not about seeking genuine connection or understanding, but rather about trying to fill the void within by forcing others to conform to our own emotional needs. When we use guilt or shame to keep our partner in line, we're actually demonstrating a fundamental lack of trust in their love and commitment, a fear that they'll leave us if we don't control them. Insecurity is a self-deception, a narrative we tell ourselves to avoid facing the truth about our own flaws and the impermanence of relationships. When people dangle the carrot of praise, often what they are really searching for is validation, because deep down, they are insecure about their own self-worth. Manipulators may employ guilt to exploit their target's sense of responsibility, but the truth is, they are often driven by a desperate need for control. The praise they give can be a thinly veiled attempt to buy affection and maintain a facade of likability, all while concealing their true motives. Those who wield shame with reckless abandon are usually compensating for their own deep-seated fear of rejection, their ego attempting to hold them together by tearing others down. In their pursuit of validation and affection, they may come across as charming, but beneath the surface lies a complex web of insecurities and self-deception. Often, people use guilt, shame, and praise as a smokescreen to distract from their own vulnerabilities, all while desperately seeking a sense of belonging and connection. Now that you've gained insight into the complex dynamics of manipulation through guilt, shame, and praise, remember to stay vigilant and recognize the subtle signs in your own relationships. Please hit the like button if you found this content impactful, and share your observations in the comments below. Your insight could help someone else. If you're interested in exploring more of the hidden patterns driving human behavior, be sure to subscribe to this channel for new, thought-provoking content each week.